So let's move to path A, button 1, end result 1. So we're going to do this one now. So we're going to first delete all the buttons because on the end result we don't have any buttons now. So you can just select all 3 of those down here, hit your control key. There. So just make sure you're on the right layer. Yep, we're good. Delete those. And I'll show you how you can just change this avatar. So we'll do that in a second, so I'll leave her. But we're going to want to change this text here. So I'm going to go to the document. And here's path A end result number 1. So we want to copy this text here. And then paste it over this. And then I'll just adjust it here. And you don't need this either anymore, so you can delete that. And we'll change this to scene 3. Okay, and we're going to replace Lily here. So I'm just going to right click and go down to replace pose, content library. So expression will be happy right here. And the pose, you can choose whatever you want. I'm just going to make it the same as what I did. So I'm going to choose this one right here, arms crossed. There we go. And I think you can just leave her right there. You could adjust it if you want. So it doesn't really matter. So at this point, we're going to create a try again button that we're going to put in the top right corner. So insert button. I'm just going to use the rectangle one, doesn't really matter. Just arbitrarily put it here for a second. I'm just going to use one of the presets. We'll use that, and I'll just type try again. And I'll just change the font there. All right, so something like that. And let's just adjust the size and shape and position of that. Position, we'll just adjust this slightly. Okay, there. So it doesn't really matter, you can just eyeball it. And I did put balloons rising up just with animation in the example I showed you, but we can come back and do that at the end, so we'll just leave that out for now. And let's go to the timeline now and just change the labels. So try again, I'm just gonna label that try again. Okay, and then we can leave that, and we'll change the scenario text so it says path A, B1, and result 1. We'll just call it end 1, that's fine. And everything else I think we can leave. All right, so that one's pretty much done. Okay, so now we're just gonna create the trigger for the try again button. It's really the only one that there is because everything else is taken care of. So go to trigger wizard here, and we're going to use jump to slide because this button is going to take us back to the very beginning, which is just the main slide, and this slide is just the branching interaction example. And if you look over on the left, it's slide 2.2, but you don't really need to know that because you're just going to this slide. So you go all the way to the bottom here, this slide. These are the ones from my original example, so I'm not going to use one of those. This is just a new scene I created. So this slide, when the user clicks try again. Okay. Now before we preview that, we have to do one more thing. Let's go to the base layer, and let's go to the settings here, the properties. See how it says when revisiting automatically decide? We want to change that to reset to initial state. Okay, the reason why we're doing that is when we hit the try again button, we want it to start over. So let's go back to path A button 1. Let's just save that, and then we'll preview. Okay, so path A, A1, there's the end result, the first one, and we'll hit the try again button. Here we are back at scene 1. We can do it again, try again, Anyway, so there we go. Okay, so now let's go configure the next layer here, button 2. So it's going to be very similar. We're going to be repeating a lot of the steps. So let's first delete out the buttons. So we don't need these. Just make sure we're on the right layer. Yep, button 2. Don't want to delete something off the wrong layer. And let's just change this text here. So now we're at the second end result, path A end result number 2. Okay, we can delete this. All right, and we'll change this to scene 3. And we'll change Lily here to a disappointed look. And I think we can pretty much leave her the same spot. If you wanted to move her a little bit or resize, that's fine. Go ahead. I'm just going to leave her for this example. And we need that try again button, so you can just go back to the previous one. And all you have to do is just click here in the timeline, Control C, copy, and go back to this one, Control V, paste, and it pastes in the trigger as well, so you don't have to do anything. And we'll just go to the timeline here and just rename that. Actually, you can just leave that, it's fine. We don't need to rename that, but you can rename that to try again. The scenario text, I'll just rename that just so it's not too confusing. I'm just gonna rename that to path A, B2, end 2. Okay, so path A, B2, end 2. And everything else you can leave. So we're pretty much done this one now. Let's just preview. Okay, so we're going to choose the second one now. Scene 3, okay, are you sure that's true? Sister's not too happy and there's a disappointed look. And try again, we're back to the start. And then the third one here is exactly the same process. So I think you guys can do it on your own now. So how about you give it a try? So delete out the buttons, copy in the proper text, change that to scene 3, change your avatar. You can choose whatever you like. But again, it's going to be the same really as button 2. So you could have even just duplicated this layer and just renamed a couple things. That's another way to do it. But I wanted to set those triggers for the 3 layers on this path A second question layer, so that's why I did it ahead of time. So you can use that disappointed expression or you choose. Okay, so now I've created the path A button 3 and result number 3 slides. You can see it right here, so I'll just review quickly. So you should have been able to copy in the text there from the document. Label that scene 3, delete the buttons, change the avatar to this one, or whatever you want to do. So I'll just review that quickly. So change it to disappointed. The pose was this one, but you can use whatever you'd like. And then you copy in the try again button from the previous one. So you just go to a previous one, take the try again button here, Control C or right click and copy, and then paste it right in here, and it'll paste in the trigger as well. So let's just go preview all of that right now. Okay, so path A, here are the 3 responses. We'll just go the first one. There it is. Try again. Back to scene 1, path A. Go to the second choice there. I need to help my friends move. All right, so that wasn't the truth. So your sister's not happy. Try again. And the third one, I have a date Saturday night. Not true. And try again. There we go. So now we're moving on to path B. So we're going to be repeating a lot of what we just did, but just with different text and things like that. So let's go back to path A, second question, because it's going to be similar to this one. So I'm going to duplicate this one, this layer, and then I'm going to rename it path B, second question. Okay, so now we're on path B, second question. Let's copy in the new text. So go to the document. Okay, so this is path B now. That's the initial answer there. So we want path B, second question. Okay, so we just highlight this. So your friend really wants you to go. She asks if you can see if your sister can find another babysitter for Saturday. How do you respond? So that's still scene 2. It's just path B now instead of path A. And for path B, there's only 2 responses. So we can delete out the third button here. Okay, and let's go back to the document and we'll copy in the text. I'll just show you the first one and you can do the second one. Okay, so see how there's only 2 responses, B1 and B2. So we'll take this one and copy that here. Sure, I'll ask, doesn't hurt to try. Okay, so now you can go and copy in the second one, and I'll do that as well. Okay, so now I've copied in the text for the second button here. And we can change the avatar here if you want. You can leave it the same if you'd like, it doesn't really matter. I'll just change it. So the expression is still going to be thinking, but we'll do the one with her hand out, and I'll just show you something with this. So see how it's to the opposite way? You can go over to format and just rotate, flip horizontal, and then we'll have to reposition. So I'm just going to right click, size 249, that looks okay, and position. There we go. And we might tweak some of these positions of the avatars after. I'll just polish it up a bit at the end. Okay, so the timeline, let's do change some of these labels. So button 1, we're going to just rename this to B1 instead of A1. And this is path B, first option, and then this one, B2. Path B, second option. Scenario text will be path B instead of path A. And we're still on the second question, and I think everything else we don't really need to worry about too much. You can always update it if you'd like. So before we go duplicating this layer to create the 2 end results for path B, we have to go back to the base layer here because we didn't put in a trigger yet for this layer to show up because it wasn't created. So now that it's created, we can go up here, create a trigger, show layer, path B, second question, when the user clicks, button 2, because that's path B. Okay. So now go back to here, just so we're on the right layer, and we'll just go preview. Now when you're previewing the slide, you're previewing everything from the beginning. So it's actually the slide, not just that layer. Okay, so let's go to path B. There we go, it shows up. Perfect. Okay, so now let's duplicate this slide. And we'll rename that path B, button 1, end result 1. Okay, and now we just duplicate that again. Path B, now it's going to be button 2. End result number 2. Okay, so button 1, button 2. Now let's go back to path B. Second question, we got to add all the triggers. So it may be similar because we did duplicate the layer, so we just need to modify these. So go here and go to the edit button, hide layer, this layer, when the state of at least one of the following is selected. So We want it to be B1 or B2. So that looks correct. And show layer. So let's just modify this. Show layer, and we want it to be path B button 1. When the user clicks, button 1. And then modify this one. Show layer, and we want the button 2 end result, so B, path B, end result number 2. When the user clicks, button 2 for B, for path B. Okay, so those are good. I think we're pretty much done that, but let's just preview and save. Just make sure everything works. Okay, so choose path B now. Here it is. Your friend really wants you to go to the party. Sure, I'll ask. Or no, I can't. She doesn't trust anyone else. So we click here on B1. It's going to look the same because we just duplicated. Okay, so we'll just replay that. And this is B2. Okay, so I think it works. It's just going to replay the same thing right now. Okay, let's go to path B button 1 and let's modify this. So this is the end result. So we don't need any buttons on it. We can delete the buttons. And we need to replace this text as well. So let's go do that. So end result number 1 is this, path B. Now I know this might get confusing, but just pause and rewatch parts of it. This is the way branching interactions are, and this is one of the simpler ones because there's only 3 questions to start with. But you can see how it can get involved depending on the number of combinations. All right, so I copied that. Okay, so I'm going to just paste that in here. Change this now to scene 3. Okay, so path B button 1 and result number 1, that's the text. So you ask her, she understands, and she's able to get someone else. So you're good to go. Okay, let's change a Lily now. So just right click. We'll do happy expression. And this one. Okay, and you can probably leave her there, but we'll go tweak the positions of those after because I notice on some they're kind of shifting a bit. Okay, and the timeline, if you want to change anything here, like this scenario text here, since this is an end result one. So path B, B1. End 1. And let's copy in the try again button from another one of these. So back here. Okay, so there's the try again button, and we're gonna have to tweak these triggers over here as well. Okay, so all we really need on the end result button, if you look from the previous ones here that we did, is the try again button. So we can delete this hide layer, this layer 1. So we just need jump to slide this slide when the user clicks try again 1. It doesn't really matter what we call that. It's just one button there. Okay, so I think that one should be good. Okay, so let's just save and preview, make sure. Okay, so we'll go to path B. Here are the 2 choices. Select this one, and here we're at the end result. She's able to get a babysitter last minute. And then we go to try again. And we're back at the beginning. Perfect. Okay, so let's do button 2 for path B. All right, so how about for this one, you try this on your own, and then I'll be back here in a second, and I'll just walk you through what I did. Okay, so I have completed path B button 2 and result. So this is it here. So you stick to the original plan. You don't ask your sister about finding another babysitter. Your sister asks you first anyhow. So I've copied in that text and I got rid of the buttons. I changed the pose That's a neutral expression there, but you can use whatever you want. So this is just for the example, and I copied in the try again button, and I deleted one of the old triggers that was there. So we only have one trigger just for the try again button, and that will come along with copying the try again button. Okay, so that one is done now. And let's go preview just to see this in action. So path B, this is the first response. Try again, path B, second response, or the second outcome. And then we go to try again, we're back at the beginning.